Imagine waking up on an ordinary morning, the smell of fresh bread drifting from the bakery next door, the sound of sandals on stone, a city stretching and yawning into another day, just like it had or centuries. You have no idea, no one has any idea, that by sunset, this entire world will be buried forever. This is Pompeii, not the ash gray ruin you've seen in photographs, not a museum, a living, breathing city, on what will turn out to be the last normal day of its life. Let's go back. Let's walk its streets while it's still warm. The year is 79 AD. You are standing in Pompeii, a prosperous port city on the Bay of Naples, in the shadow of a mountain nobody thinks is dangerous. To the Romans, Vesuvius isn't a threat. It's just a mountain, green, fertile, covered in vineyards that produce some of the finest wine in Italy. Pompeii itself is home to somewhere between 11 and 20,000 people. Merchants, sailors, slaves, senators' families, artisans, priests. It's not the capital of anything. It's not especially famous. It's simply a good place to live. The city sits on a plateau above the sea, protected by nearly 2 miles of stone walls with 8 gates. Inside, everything is built on a grid, long, straight streets crossing at right angles. A layout so orderly you could navigate it blindfolded within a week of arriving. At the heart of it all is the Forum, the beating civic heart of the city. Temples to Jupiter and Apollo rise on one side. The Basilica, where lawsuits are argued and business deals sealed, dominates another. Market stalls crowd the open square, merchants shouting over each other, hawking olives, fish, cloth, pottery. Walk a little further and you'll find not one, but 2 theaters. A large one for tragedies and comedies, a smaller, more intimate one for music and poetry readings. And beyond that, the amphitheater, one of the oldest stone amphitheaters in the entire Roman world, seating 20,000 people for gladiator games. Let's step inside a home. If you're wealthy, you live in a domus, a private house built inward around a central courtyard called an atrium. At its center, an open square in the roof lets in light and rain, which collects in a shallow pool below. The walls around you are not bare. They're painted, deep reds, ochre yellows, black backgrounds, with scenes of gods, myths, gardens that never wilt. Mosaic floors stretch beneath your feet. In one particularly famous house, a mosaic dog guards the entrance with 3 simple Latin words: cave canem. Beware of the dog. But most people in Pompeii are not wealthy. If you're an ordinary citizen, a shopkeeper, a laborer, a freed slave building a new life, you likely live above your own workplace, in cramped upper floor apartments, reached by narrow wooden stairs. Multiple families might share a single building. Privacy, as we understand it today, barely exists. And then there are the enslaved, a significant portion of the population doing everything from backbreaking labor in bakeries to skilled work as tutors, accountants, and hairdressers. Some will eventually earn or be granted their freedom. Many won't. Roman social life runs on a rhythm most of us would recognize. Wake before dawn, work through the morning, and by early afternoon, head to the baths. The baths aren't just about getting clean. They're where business gets done, gossip gets traded, and status gets displayed. You move through rooms of increasing heat, the cool frigidarium, the warm tepidarium, the scorching caldarium, and religion touches everything. Household shrines, called lararbia, sit in nearly every home, where families make small, daily offerings to their protective spirits before ever stepping outside. If you're hungry, and in a city like this you usually are within reach of food, you don't need to cook at home. Pompeii has dozens of thermopolia, ancient fast food counters built directly into the street. Walk up to one, and you'll see a stone counter with large clay jars called dolia, sunk right into it, each one holding something different. Archaeologists excavating one of these counters found the remains of duck bone, pig, goat, fish, and even snails still inside the jars. A lunch interrupted, frozen exactly as it was on that final day. Most homes don't have private kitchens in the way we imagine. No chimney, no easy way to cook indoors safely. So street food isn't a luxury here. It's simply how the city eats. Bread is everywhere. Pompeii alone has more than 30 bakeries, some with massive stone mills still standing today, turned once by donkeys or by enslaved workers to grind grain into flour. Wine is the universal drink, usually cut with water, sometimes with honey, occasionally with seawater or resin for flavor. Wealthy tables might see imported oysters, exotic spices, dormice raised specifically to be eaten as delicacies. Poorer tables lean on porridge, beans, olives, and whatever bread they can afford. Grapevines climb the slopes of Vesuvius itself. The volcanic soil, rich and dark, produces some of the most celebrated wine in the entire Roman Empire. The very thing that makes this land so fertile is the same thing that is quietly, patiently building toward catastrophe beneath their feet. Now, here is where the story starts to change. 17 years before this morning, in 62 AD, a massive earthquake tore through the region. Buildings collapsed. The Temple of Jupiter in the Forum still hasn't been fully repaired. Scaffolding and construction still stand in parts of the city 17 years later. To the people of Pompeii, that earthquake was the disaster, the big one, the thing they survived. They don't know that it was a warning. In the days leading up to this particular morning in late summer of 79 AD, there have been small tremors again, minor ones. The kind Pompeians have felt their whole lives, living this close to a mountain. Nobody panics, nobody leaves. Why would they? The earth shakes sometimes. It always has. Wells and springs in the region have reportedly been running strange, some drying up unexpectedly. Animals, some later accounts suggest, have grown restless. But there is no science of volcanology yet, no monitoring stations, no seismographs, no historical memory of Vesuvius ever doing anything more dramatic than growing good grapes. So life goes on. Bread is baking. The baths are full. Somewhere in the amphitheater, workers are preparing for games. Around 1 in the afternoon, Vesuvius erupts, and the sky itself seems to tear open. A column of ash, pumice, and gas rockets nearly 20 miles into the sky, so violent and so tall that the Roman writer Pliny the Younger, watching from across the bay, compares its shape to an umbrella pine tree, spreading wide at the top before collapsing. For the people of Pompeii, the first sign is a sound, a deep, ground-shaking boom, and then the sky begins to darken in the middle of the afternoon. Ash starts falling like gray snow. Within minutes, it's difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. Then comes the pumice. Light, porous volcanic rock, raining down for hours, piling up on rooftops, on streets, on the shoulders of anyone still outside. Roofs begin to groan and collapse under the weight. People start fleeing, some toward the harbor hoping for ships, some sheltering inside their homes, believing as their parents once believed after the earthquake, that this too will pass. It does not pass. Through the afternoon and into the night, the eruption intensifies, and then, in the terrible hours before dawn, the volcanic column can no longer sustain itself, and it collapses. What follows is called a pyroclastic surge, a fast-moving cloud of superheated gas, ash, and rock, racing down the mountainside at speeds that can exceed 100 miles an hour, with temperatures hot enough to kill instantly. This is not a slow burial. For most who remain in the city by this point, death comes in seconds, not from fire consuming them, but from the searing heat of the surge itself. Their bodies and the spaces they leave behind in the hardening ash will later become one of archaeology's most haunting discoveries: hollow voids in the shape of human beings, some curled protectively around children, some frozen mid-motion. By the time it's over, Pompeii, along with the nearby towns of Herculaneum, Oplontis, and Stabiae, lies buried under many feet of ash and volcanic debris, an entire city silenced in less than a day. It isn't rediscovered until the late 1500s, and serious excavation doesn't begin until the 1700s. Because Pompeii wasn't destroyed in the way most ancient ruins are destroyed, worn down by centuries of weather, looted, rebuilt over. Pompeii was sealed, frozen, a single afternoon, preserved almost perfectly in ash. Bread still sits in ovens. Paintings still glow with color on the walls. Political graffiti is still legible. That thermopolium counter, the fast food stand, was found with food remnants still inside its jars. And those haunting plaster casts, created in the 1800s when an excavator realized that the hollow spaces in the hardened ash were the exact shape of decomposed human bodies. By pouring plaster into those voids, archaeologists could recreate, with chilling precision, the final postures of people in their last moments. Today, Pompeii stands as one of the most complete windows we have into daily Roman life. Not the life of emperors and generals that fills the history books, but the life of ordinary people: bakers, shopkeepers, enslaved workers, mothers, children, people who ate lunch at a street counter, argued with their neighbors, painted jokes on walls, and had absolutely no reason to believe that particular morning was any different from the thousand mornings that came before it. That's what makes this story so difficult to shake. It isn't really about a volcano. It's about how close ordinary life always is to being the last day of it, and how, for one city, on one afternoon, in the year 79, it simply was.